All right, time for another interview and place, and this one is going to be a fun one. A name that maybe a lot of you know, maybe a face some of you don't know, but the Assistant Athletics Director for Ticket Operations, Darren Coelho, is joining us. We call him DC in the office. DC, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Justin?
I'm good. I'm happy to talk to you. It's fun to do this interview because I think maybe people that do know you might learn something about you, and people that don't know you may find out something about you. So I guess start with how the shelter in place has kind of changed things for you from the ticket operations side. I have to imagine it's different.
Well, I mean, we're very thankful that with Ticketmaster's technology that we're able to log in and work remotely through our system, which is great. So, people are still able to renew their tickets, renew their season tickets, and purchase season tickets and manage their accounts for donations and that sort of thing that way, which is a big deal. I think, clearly the thing that's lost is what, was really our bread and butter, that we're very front facing and open and always there for discussion. And it doesn't mean that we're not still available. We've been very outgoing about how, if there's anything we can do for any of our folks, don't be shy to,
Right.
to ask us. But I think the key thing is, we have hours on the door, and we're used to, being, like I said, front facing and available, and it's the in-person is what's lost.
Now, where are you spending time sheltering in place, and how's that been going? I see you have some nice memorabilia behind you, so that's a
I
good start.
do. I do. I'm very fortunate that my wife Marisa likes sports, as much as I do. So this is an extension off our master bedroom, and we have some sports stuff here. But this has sort of been my office. She laughs with me a little bit. She's not sure how I gained this space because with our 5 kids, that have been finishing 5th through 8th grade over the last several months, and then her trying to teach her 1st grade class the same time in another part of the house. She's wondering how I got this space, but I don't know. I'll just say I'm the lucky one.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 20 years is the number this year for you in the athletics department. Is that right?
Yeah, 19 calendar years as of last April, but this fall will be my 20th season. I remember 01, the first road game at SC, and it's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
It's funny because, and I will tell this quick story. On game weeks, I go to Lawrence, I hear some news, some notes, some stats. I talk to him, and then I go and talk to you because you always give me 2 or 3, sometimes 4 little snippets about whether it's the matchup history or something unique about the venue or whose family is going to be in attendance.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that, but I always find it interesting the little snippets of knowledge that you hold for each matchup that the Spartan football team has.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, it's like, who else can talk to you about in 2002 playing 9 road games in 9 states? I mean, that doesn't happen every year, right? Or in 01 or 02 when we only played 4 home games and they're all conference games. We didn't have any
Right.
non-conference home opponents then. But I think that's the beauty of it is that we can talk statistically about what's there, but when people think about every side of it, I think they don't realize regionally where we are, what's involved. Or I always enjoyed when we would go to New Mexico State, right? Because people had no idea that we would fly to El Paso and then cross the state line into Las
Right.
Cruces. So you're literally on game day crossing the border to play the game, only to go back after the game and cross the border again to leave to go home. Like, people didn't really always really appreciate the ins and outs of that. But I think that's what's fun about what you do is you get to know a lot of the people from these other schools. I mean, clearly everything we do is relationship driven, either with our season ticket holders and donors or colleagues around the Mountain West. Every other week we have a Mountain West call that I organize, and I think that's important. But being around in sights and sounds other than what's on the field is certainly part of the experience, and
Now,
we certainly feel that around bowl games, which is fun. Yeah.
I will make you tell one story, and I know you've got a lot. And next time you see Darren, whether it's in the ticket booth or at a game, ask him about some of his stories because they're great. They're great. I will ask you though about Coach Ralston in Hawaii, and then this
Yep.
was back when Mike Chisholm was doing the play-by-play.
Correct.
But one of my all-time favorite Darren Coelho stories. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was doing sideline reporting then too. So, typical routine, Mike we'd do one last wrap up from the field, and then I would come up to the booth. And anyone who's been in Aloha Stadium knows their press box is a little bit tricky there. It's, there's really no elevator, and you find your way to the concourse and you make your way up the stairs and you go down all that. Well, what happened was they had gone to commercial break after the game, and Chiz had set up the fact that, hey, when we come back from break, coach, we're gonna talk about a couple of key points, throughout the game. And I guess coach wasn't really following when Mike came back from commercial break, and he had inserted an entire Chips Ahoy cookie in his mouth, thinking it was still the break. And so I happened to walk in, and Coach Ralston turned around and smiled at me with a cookie in his mouth, like a mouthpiece, like he literally was a cookie smile. And Mike came back on air and he said, "All right, coach, let's go through the first point here." And Mike starts talking, waiting for coach to reference his first point. And coach realized he was stuck, right? What the radio audience doesn't see. So he basically took this thing out in its entirety and placed it on a napkin that he had there. And Mike just, "All right, well, let's go to the second point, right? The second point's, it's double valid, two over one. So let's, and then coach started talking. But it was so funny, like what they don't know happens. Yeah. But he literally took it out like a mouthpiece. It was classic.
Oh, man. And I'm telling you, there are more stories than that. Next time you see Darren, ask him. There's a great story about the horse down at USC.
Oh, yeah.
Ask him about that one.
Yeah.
But DC, I will ask you, I know you value relationships a lot, whether it be season ticket holder, donor, staff members, student athletes, what have you, coaches. Those relationships, I think a lot of people value from your perspective too. What do you take out of those relationships you have with season ticket holders and donors?
Well, I think it's really important. And, when I started in 01, they were just 5 years removed from ticketing being through the event center. And, Mike Powell was a great box office manager there and that sort of thing. But they were really driven knowledge-wise toward entertainment within their venue, unless it was sports in season. And so what a lot of people found was when they were calling the event center to renew their tickets or make donations or whatever, or had questions, they weren't really talking to who they really should talk to. And so what I wanted to bring in 01 was an identity to our office and learn people's names. And the first donor I ever met was Ben Richmith, and Ben was awesome, and really set the table for everything that I would learn quickly from the donors back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, relationships are key. I mean, they're really not much different. These donors and season ticket holders aren't much different than us. They literally, live and die sort of with the games, and they're on edge. Our buddy Richard Stern, who we worked with for a long time, always used to say, why sell the whole seat when you really only need the edge, right? And I feel the same when I'm hearing you call games, or when we're seeing games or whatever. And what I really appreciate is the people that we see all the time. There was a guy, Gary Grawl, that never bought tickets through our office for a road game, and sadly passed away a number of years ago, and we all went to his service. But before that, we caught wind of the fact that Gary had been going to games for nearly 20 years without anyone knowing it. He never went to the alumni event. He wasn't in the team hotel. Like he was a guy who loved going on his own under the radar, bought a better seat or a different seat than we had. But, getting a chance to know a guy like that who's seeing a different perspective is really cool, and the relationships are what it's about.
All right, Darren Coelho, Assistant Athletics Director for Ticket Operations. Darren, thanks so much for taking time. It was cool. This was fun. This was fun for me.
Justin, it was great. We always enjoy talking to you. You bet.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
You bet.